Hola, señores and señoritas. Speaking to you from the civil unrest happening down in Texas right now with that intro, if it makes it to the live. I'm Chastia Brigitrieve. And my government name as an adopted Saint Joseph Tartarian Vatican Nazi made template was Kristen Christ I.N. Ginzel, Ginzel. And today, on January 11th, 2025, I was alerted to go look at when Hawaii fire started, which was August 8th, 2023. And when the Los Angeles Palisade fire, because it wasn't LA, it was Palisades fire on January 7th, 2025. To all and anyone who knows anybody in Hawaii that has been working on a case against the federal government or has been working on attempting to prove anything about what was done there to Hawaii, or as we get this under control in Los Angeles, please send them this video, because I have information that on the right team of people, we can take down the federal government for illegally taking over our realm and doing this, because the proof is in the stars. And it's the same event. The energy that hit Hawaii on Lionsgate, I don't know if the people of Hawaii or the people of Los Angeles or anybody that might be a lawyer or that is looking into this and does not know spiritual energy. If you don't know about spiritual energy and you don't understand this ascension, there's no way you're ever going to bring a case against them. This is how this has been hidden down here. This has been going on this whole time. Hawaii and LA have been getting charged when they come and do a harvest. The only difference is this time they didn't get human DNA and it connected into the land, because the land had more human DNA than the humans that were tuned to what they are trying to suck out of you. So August 8th, 2023 is Lionsgate. It was Lionsgate. It's not anymore because of what has been going on 8/8 in this country, and especially in California, since 2019. When you go through an ascension, when Pluto and Saturn aligned in 2020, and this isn't that chart, this isn't from 2020, but Pluto and Saturn aligned right here on 2020. Pluto and Saturn. Well, Caltech even made Pluto like a non-existent planet. Remember? And Pluto, we had to get worked back into the whole thing because they was just trying to pull Pluto out of the whole thing to begin with. Pluto holds all your long-term soul missions. So what it does is it holds your DNA strands. It's the tree of all missions that we were all working together in DNA lines when we incarnated in order to finish for a 1,000,000-year count. All wars were set so that the people did not remember long periods of time, and everything was erased, especially in the United States of America, that had anything to do with the remembrance of long cycles of time. This is why they raided Afghanistan. This is why they did Gulf. This is why they've been doing it the whole time. The World War I and World War II and the Confederate War are all wrapped up in the information that I'm telling you right now that was just used to start these fires. The land holds portals and dimensions because we were in a simulation, and it is now time for the people to come out of a simulation, and a group of beings had come into this realm to take over the human race DNA set because they purposely put you all asleep too long periods of time so that you didn't think that there was a possible even way to get all your DNA back. And they didn't think that there was. Now, August 8th is linked, it was a Stargate. And Lionsgate was held, it was an Egyptian Stargate portal, just like Stargate, just like the portals that you see the Nazis stealing and having underwater and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The big freaking circle that looks like the outside of a Timex watch. All those portals connect to the outer ice walls. You can think of 8/8 and Lionsgate up until the year 2020, because 2021 is pretty much the last year that anything went through. The problem is what they were throwing through from the dark side was not organic. The whole system was set up in order to pull all of our, they were watching from the dark side with whatever that they had, because it's ice walls. So on 8/8, you can think about it is like, if there's a door here, and then this is a wall, and then there's a door here, and then this is holding all the energy to these outer walls, then on 8/8, this line lines up into a chute. As soon as it moves off 8/8, it starts doing this. And so the doors don't align. So you might be able to get something in here, okay? But you're not going to be able to pull it all the way through until 8/8, whenever that whole thing lines up. Well, this is how they were binding etheric bodies that were sacrificed in the industry. And I mean, because I walked it. So for everybody who's involved in and is listening to this right now, and I'm attempting to give you about 1,000,000 years of metaphysical information that the monarchs were keeping and the dictators were keeping from the people in one little blurb, okay? On 8/8, they came, and it all went down in Anaheim. In fact, it went down on Chapman Street, less than a block from the Hyatt in the Delta, in one area of condos that was carved out of Garden Grove and worked into the Anaheim district. Number one, because the whole condo area that I was in was built and set up like a craps game. And the entire set of condos was wired to those hotels and the burials that had taken place up and down Chapman. And I'm talking like deep, deep, deep burials from a long time ago. 2022, because it was 2 years that I had to go back there back to back on August 8th, because it was 2 years processing. They had to pull me back there to finish in 2022 because of what I had started in 2021 when they were attempting to spinal tap us. And I mean the entire human race. And FYI, if you're a celebrity watching this, this is why we were screaming. You weren't just sacrificing one or two of us, you sacrificed the entire lot. We've been telling you this whole time this was no normal Mason roundup. By 2022 in Anaheim, Gavin Newsom had pulled the mayor of Anaheim in order to cook the collective. Now, what happened on 8/8/2021 is that I was conscious. I was conscious in my etheric body as they had shackled our right wrists, shackled us to a pole, and were leading us into a ship. And as because physically I was awake. I mean, it physically, this scene took over my waking reality. And as I was getting shackled and going up into a spaceship, which, by the way, I tricked him into putting me on board in 2021. This is how I got all wound up in this. This is how I know what happened. I said, I'm Gaia. You can't take me out there. And I'm screaming and they dumped me. I've talked about this before. They dumped me. I fell on the ground. I was basically the wheel. 2 were with me. 2 fell unconscious with me. I had to put up a shield. We were glowing. Everyone around us was staring. And I believe it was like because our etheric bodies and all of our connections had already been stripped from the human race at this time. This is why all my conscious collective in 2018, a lot of them lost their way after Lionsgate 2021. And this is why, because they had already stripped us like a jawbreaker of all of our human connections, our earth connections, our land connections. They had already stripped all of that off of us. So when we fell out, we were just a glowing soul. So it would be like a star. Now, I'm going to remind everybody that we, and I especially, rewalk the entire creation process. So, I mean, this even could be originally how Orion was formed. We re-rocked the star process because it's what we were here to do in order to retune the stars so that they couldn't kill us all and do what they're doing now. Now, in 2021, when we fell out, the first thing that I had to do was kind of mark where I landed. And per where my feet and everything landed on that circle, it was matching up to the wheel and it was matching up into Gemini. Then the next thing I had to do was prove Judah and be crowned. So it happened in the physical. There was a woman there who had to watch, because once I got down, I mean, I couldn't just when this stuff happens and you're bound and you're awake in your etheric body, then and you're undoing it from this dimension, then you can't move. It's like you're frozen. You can't pick up your arm, you can't pick up your leg, you can't move until you can see where you're at in the etherics to untie it to move your body in this dimension. So the first thing that I had to do was pop my head through a plasma field into another dimension. Now, it wasn't the first time I'd done that. I'd already birthed this. I'd already birthed it. I birthed it in 2018. Trump was notified that I'd birthed it. This is when all his stuff started coming out the very next day. This all happened in 2018, where I had originally birthed that realm because I was the ancient that activated and planted Earth to create a way to get out. I'm a doomsday seed, and I was made by the government. Much like that Morgan movie that's on right now. Go watch it. And if you want to know anything about the Morgan, and you want to know anything about Hecate, well, then there you go. That's what program we ended up in the human realm. It's why we know so much about Siri and the tech. It's why you have to understand how spiritual energy runs through technology and how it manifests, not just spiritual energy in and of itself. Because spiritual energy in a technical friggin' realm, totally different. And you have to understand the connections to it, because technology is spiritual, because it's made from star energy. Always has been. It's how the energy got here. Now us star seeds hold that frequency without a line, without a wire, without silicone, without nothing. We can collect data just by walking around you. So have a bunch of other beings that have been down here and you didn't know it. So in 2021, I popped my head through. There was a king there, literally. Her last name was King. In this round of this, as far as AI moms and all that weird crap and fake families that we were all put in, then this was Deborah. This was the Russian program. It's Deborah, Shelley, and Nikki. It's the first what you'd consider the spider program that ended up making the pigs and that whole Black Widow type thing where they can just kill you from a switch and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, that was here, and it was in humans. By the way, if everybody wants to know how Russia's been stealing all the information but wasn't able to prove it, I'm telling you right now. But Russia just had the first model. Then the rest of the countries got on board. Then and Epstein and that whole thing was the making of little piggies going to market. So in 2021, when I popped my head through, she was sitting right there. She couldn't talk because whenever this stuff is happening and us that this happens to, you're very aware what's going on, that it's other dimensional, because there's a lot of rules in play. And if you happen to witness somebody going through something like this, you happen to be there, because it's not very often that somebody's there. Most of the time, we're doing this alone because it was done to us alone out in the system. When there's somebody there, or if you're witnessing it, then there was somebody there. And it was their line. We were all here to heal the lines. We were all here to fix what happened before, not to do it again. But this is what the government was doing. They were trying to do it again. So this particular woman, her last name is King. And this is also connected into the King murders, which were the Idaho murders. This is connected into that whole thing with the sorority girls that got killed. I mean, there's a few that they had done a lot, actually. but that would be ritualistically connected. It was the Idaho murders that were wrapped up in how they were getting the power in order to do what they were doing in 2021. So she was there. She had to crown me. And then that particular event in 2021 had ended for me. I thought it was done. I leave California. I'm trying to get back to Texas. And this is when Texas got completely snowed in. I normally could drive from California to Texas. I did it many times without stopping. I could easily drive from LA to Texas in a 24-hour period. And this particular January of 2022, when I was trying to get back to Texas, there were no connections from California to Texas in the ethereal lines that they had harnessed us to. So basically, like an ant farm and a channel that was dug in an ant farm, there was no channel. What I was doing was having to drive that channel and make a connection from Texas to California, and it's why they did it to me. That took me 5 days to get home because the snow was wrapped around me like a donut, and it wasn't necessarily snowing really bad where I was, but like a huge freaking circle around me like a tire. It was massive snowstorms. And then when I finally was able to get back into Texas, that's when we had all the power outages and everything else because that snow dumped. I thought that was over because I had never walked having to like take over a Stargate. What they were bringing through on Lionsgate, and this is why all of your movies are Lionsgate, MGM. This is all of your big production screen houses. Whenever you're dealing with Lionsgate, you're dealing with a giant green screen. What Hollywood and the industry had worked into all their contracts, if you wanted to be somebody, then you had to sign up and be a part of this manipulation. August 8th, Lionsgate, what they would pull through was timelines, storylines, and characters. This is how Masons did it. They write far in advance, and it's on a recording. They weren't bringing anything organic from the gate, although they were sucking all of the other energy and timelines from the outer ice walls and pulling them into the human realm in order to basically power up the human realm so that y'all would make more energy for them in order to control the timelines. Now, mind you, that they were very well aware that they were running out of energy. That this Lionsgate thing, there wasn't going to be much that was coming in from the ice walls on the other side. They always knew, and it's been prophesized inside Hollywood that this day would come. This is why so many stars have songs about LA burning. So now, mind you, that I ended up at this woman's house because the Department of Defense wouldn't let me leave California. They wouldn't, anywhere I went to try to get a place to, I found a place to stay. The man asked me for a blowjob. They would only let me stay at like real small ass hole in the wall motels. I had already been on the mission for 2 years. New Orleans had already happened. Misha had already happened. The Lake Elsinore and all the entity that was living in Lake Elsinore that was coiled up in Las Vegas that they were feeding and shutting down the oasis in Las Vegas in order to feed this entity with CIA there with earpieces. So I thought that part was over and I was wrong. I ended up having to go back to LA at the end of April in 2002, go back to that house. I call it the cookhouse. And this is when everything went really, really nuts because they had already pulled up the bodies in the etheric. I was conscious in both dimensions, and now they were attempting to spinal tap us, just like they had always done. A collective. Now, this is the entire Judah line. Anybody that had major connections into Cancer and Sagittarius that was from the original mummified lines, that's who they were spinal tapping. So basically everybody down here that was connected to the originals and any type of deity and angelic army, that they would take the collective's trash and they dump it on us, just like dumping it in the ocean, just like everybody dumping everything in the ocean. It's exactly like that, except it wasn't just happening in the ocean. It's the etherics are built up below the planet and above the planet, same as below, so above as below. Because we're dealing with astronomy, not planetary, when you're dealing with me. Now, and I'll remind everybody that I let them take me. They weren't going to take me. I was in 2022, I knew what girl they were trying to take. This all went down with them they were having me buy these cards. They were making me go buy these $500 cards. They were making me send them to Jason. Jason was in a white Range Rover, and he's taking pictures of him in the car as I'm being followed. Because what ended up, they were assigning to me what card I buy. Like, they were always telling me, you've got to buy this card and then send it to me and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. There's a whole bunch of times that I didn't do it, but the collective had to be in the game. So we had to play the game. If I wouldn't have played the game, we wouldn't have been in the game. So I had to play the game. This, in 2022, what happened is they couldn't dictate to me what I was going to do. It was the first time that the collective chose where we bought the cards, what type of cards we bought, because we're alchemists. All the other moves, the Brotherhood was calling the shots. This is how Target stores got involved. I had set it up in my consciousness because I knew, and I couldn't pay what he wanted me to pay because there literally wasn't that much left. And the ancestors would only let me pay what the collective might have actually owed. So the number was 175, and we had 4 women that were living in that cookhouse. that 3 women, 2 women, and then another woman that was involved with it. Now, mind you, whenever I go raw, then I have to put back together the DNA. Whoever is around me is in that suit, because my energy is just going to pick up whatever DNA is around me, because it's a wide open 0-point field. And so these beings were in my field. So when I went to go do the maneuver, I had to delay it, because where I had planned and wrote myself, not telling anybody else what I'm doing, where I was going to go to get these cards, the CIA was there. And I knew it was a setup. Now, mind you, we knew this whole time that they were trying to set us up for all their evil deeds. It's why we're here. It's why you don't know about any of this. But the human race has been run by it this whole time, because this is what they'd always do. They'd always make one of our line the patsy from a different dimensional law. Because in every dimension, there's different laws. And whenever you're wielding power from the outside of the ice wheel and you're bringing it into the human race, then you're responsible for it inside the dome with the humans, the same as if you're connected to it on the outside wielding it. And the Matrix punishes you if it thinks that you have broken the human rules, even if the whole thing's gone AI and is like taking everybody out, because the lowest form and bottom out of the Matrix is gonna, it's only gonna look at the law and then look at exactly what you did, and then if they don't match up, then it's gonna put the karma on you. Now, since our lines were always the one that had all the power, and they'd been stealing all the power of the lines this whole time, I mean, this is why we got so powerful. This is how we became the best alchemists. This is how we can send a light from Texas to California by just walking out your front door in a snow, at the end of a snowstorm where all the ground's white and it's reflecting from a reflector in the sky. And all I did was walk out of my door and it's a bright light, and then it showed up in LA. But I mean, it's a simulation. So in 2022, it's when Natalie had to come and help me. And when she got there, all the blood vessels in her eyes busted out, because we were reworking the DNA. We were pulling the gig suits off everybody. If you don't know what a gig suit is, I'll go into that later. Basically, all the DNA that they had made for the collective to make you diseased, because that's the template that they made. This round wasn't making celebrities. This round was taking over every original human on this planet in order to deliver AI. In the Middle East and over there, were solely controlled by AI. So what happened is 2022, all this went organic. We were bringing it all in the realm. We were having to birth it, and we were having to bring in the new DNA codes, and we were living through the rebirth. And on that Lion's Gate on 2022, we pulled through a 1,000,000-year lion cub from the ice wall. So literally on the other side of that portal and the ice was all of us lion's cubs and all of our DNA that were frozen in this ice wall. And for the first time in human history, on August 8th, 2022, we pulled in, go look it up. We pulled in a lion cub through the portal to get that ancient DNA back into this realm so that we could complete the DNA rewrite and connect it all the way back to it, which is why all of you are getting superpowers, but is also why and how we're the ones who brought superpowers back to human race. I mean, it's been going on for a long time. You're talking to Enoch and Enlil and all that mess. I'm way further older than that. All of that was formed from what I'm telling you right now in full consciousness. And a lot of you are remembering this. So when that lion cub came in, we changed the sequence. It's no longer tuned to a human DNA harvest. On 8/8, if they're lining up those dimensions in order to attach themselves to human DNA structures, it was no longer aligned. So all these maneuvers that were unseen to the human realm were only unseen because our human DNA was holding a bubble over it and they were tapping into the bubble. It didn't hit the person. We had events, we had catastrophes, we had blah 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 every time that they did it. But us in our little bubble, we would think of it as just the weather or the gods are mad or whatever. But actually what it is a harvesting system, and they're sucking all the energy out of the human race in order to cold fusion it into Antarctica, freeze the core, and shut everybody off from consciousness and abilities. So you'd be in a fishbowl being run. Now, when the COVID started in 2020, before any of this even happened, I was supposed to go to Hawaii. I was at LAX. I was supposed to go to Hilo, Hawaii. Why Hilo? Because Hilo is where the Pleiadian. It's the first Pleiadians. It's a. If you go look it up, it's the same exact story in New Orleans that happened, but one was in Hawaii. It was the mystical woman that stopped the lava from taking over the town, and in New Orleans, it was the mystical nun that was at the Abbey right around St. Philip's house in New Orleans whenever, I can't remember if it was fire or floods, but that Abbey is the only one that stood, and it's the same story in Hilo, Hawaii, with the volcano blowing and the woman stopping the lava from getting to the city. That is in the people in the village. It's the same. That's why I had Hawaii was the birthing. Hawaii was gridded down in the Pacific, gridding down those continents. It's on a hinge. The hinge comes up from Antarctica and goes straight up, and then they were anchoring the ages in Anchorage, Alaska, and holding those binds to basically Orca Island and the Canada-United States border. And right there at Canada and United States border and off the coast right there is one giant whirlpool. And there's the winds. So August 8, 2023 is going to be that sequence. It's when they didn't let me go to Hawaii. They caused the COVID. I mean, I was at the gate. I was at the gate in LAX and they canceled my flight. Mind you, if I would have gone to Hawaii, none of these fires ever would have started. The rebirthing process in Hawaii wasn't finished. 2018, the government made sure of it. 2018, when that volcano blew, and in Hawaii, and when that volcano blew, that magma goes into different clock settings, just like we were talking about with this wheel thing in the 8-8, it like a Timex with these different wheels on the outside. It's that lava goes into the core and then sets, and that particular volcano is made for it, and then that lava goes down and changes time sequences. And in the middle of that happening in Hawaii, when it was all happening naturally, because up to 2018, the ascension was going naturally. Problem was, it was going way too fast for them. They couldn't believe that it was really happening. They were watching all of us, and we weren't doing anything different, but the church was changing. Mary Magdalene was named the 13th apostle. Even the Catholic Church was bringing out the cosmic Christ, which is what I was originally written as. I was Cosmic Christy. I was Cosmic Christ. But after 2018, I had to ditch the whole thing because they stole the Christ timeline. Then they started all these missile scare tactics. They started doing everything to the elders and the Hawaiian people. Mind you, the Hawaiian people and the elders on the islands are the ones that called us in to help. The elders and the beings in Hawaii had the most consciousness about the ascension patterns on the planet, and were holding consciousness. And when the government sent in they like twisted it. They were sending in those planes and they twisted it up to Hawaiians at that time. It was like the earth, like time was standing still. To all of us in the world, it was like time was flying. And that's why that core, they didn't want that tent post of energy to rise up in Hawaii to make that Japanese connection. They wanted a straight connection. No time. Running in a straight line through a dimensional simulation, which basically cuts out time. Because all this was trying to get a remote view, or 4 seconds or 2 seconds on 3 seconds on the stock market, on what everyone's doing next. Have 2 or 3 hours ahead of LA in Texas so they could outmaneuver them in the stock market and manipulate seeds. I mean, it was all one big football game that was running on 20 different channels, all 30 minutes off. And if you happen to be able to get channel 18, 19, and 20, then you knew who won the game before the game started. And if you wanted that information, then you had to pay for play. So, 8-8. 2023. Now this is my chart because it's astro, so I've got to pull up a chart to look at just the transits because it's not astro gold. This is one of the things that this app doesn't do. Now what I want to show y'all, and notice, see all these planets? They're at the bottom of the wheel. Even the moon's in Taurus. We got 3 planets in Taurus, so this is all about timelines because Taurus is all about timelines. So this is on August 8th, 2023. And we've got the moon and Jupiter and Uranus. This has been what Uranus is changing. Uranus has been over the Pleiades. But again, in the simulation, the Pleiades was set up over California. California was your Pleiades in the simulation. And Uranus is fixing to go direct. That's why this is even being shown to me. The sun was in Leo, and Venus retrograde was in basically coming up on Regulus. Now, if you want to see, here's the transits right here. So Venus was at 23 degrees of Leo. So that is like that's like 2 degrees before Regulus. And Regulus is all the kings and queens lines. It's all the dead Leos. It's all the dead Leos throughout time. And everybody who is connected to them. So that line cup, 15 degrees Leo, that's like in the middle of the line. So if 15 degrees Leo is going to be like the median midpoint, if there's going to be one group of Leos that's connected to the beginning Leos and the end Leos, it's going to be the ones in the middle. So the sun was at 15 degrees of Leo, hitting both sides of the Leo stack. 9 degrees and 52 minutes moon. Well, if you want to like really go in a rabbit hole on this, go pull up the year 952. Go pull up the year 952. We've got Mercury at 12 degrees of Virgo. Well, it's in Virgo. It's messing with the etheric body. And 20 degrees is sea level. 12 degrees is 1 degree after the black hole, which connects all the way down into Thuban, which is 1/2 of the root system into the alpha draconic lower dimensions. Venus retrograde, so Venus is going backwards, not forward. So Venus is walking back. Venus is still coming out of time when they did it. Mars, 17 degrees of Virgo, like I said, so it's right over sea level. So 17 degrees of Virgo would be like looking at the ocean and then looking up into the horizon and all the mist that's coming off of the ocean, that's moving and vaporizing, and then make a complete circle, and then all that same layer underneath the ocean. So it's going to be not deep water. It's going to be kind of like the layer underneath the current, where the fish that swim at the top of the current of the ocean, it's going to be the layer right underneath them that attaches in a circle all the way up into, right. So that's and Mars makes it real and holds it. So with Mercury at 12 Virgo and with Mars at 17 Virgo, then that's basically taking over Virgo. The etheric body of Sophia. This has to do with Sophia Christ. And Mary Magdalene. And how Virgo just walks out. Virgo, we walked out of there. Where we walked out. Jupiter at 1421. So again, Taurus is all timelines. So 952, the year 1421. Saturn at 5 degrees and 15 retrograde. Saturn retrograde. So Saturn retrograde, if they did it in the middle of a Saturn retrograde, well, that's attacking long missions. Saturn retrograde is only picking up their missions from Pluto Saturn retrograde is only rerunning if you have Saturn retrograde in your chart, since the minute you were born, you were down here bringing in an old story in order to complete it this time. And it's in Fomalhaut, in the cosmic eye of the realm. So it's like they took out a piece of the iris. It was coming from the year 2253. Uranus was changing the year 2253. Now, I'll remind everybody, I'm a time traveler. we were here because in the year 2038, if we wouldn't have completed what's going on now, and because we knew that they were going to do this. This is why I had them take me in the ship. This is why I don't have my son right now. And this is why I don't take any lip from anybody walking around here that claims to be a person. 2253 is the year that they had written this to. So basically, whatever they did with this Hawaii thing, it's supposed to run for them until what you would consider was the year 2253. However, I'll remind everybody that the Pleiade starts at 2600. So California was basically being built off energy from 2600 from the collective. So basically they're stealing our futures and then disrupting and manipulating them and then putting in different characters and mirroring it back to us. Yes. What did Trump do? Steal from the futures. He tells you. You thought that was just money? Oh no. 6 billion souls were stolen from the future and brought into this realm. It's why no humans are having babies. Insurance is a moon raw accounting. Where do you think the energy comes from? I'm just warning everybody. I know it sucks to lose what you think is everything. But what I'm reminding everybody with this energy and the way that they have this system set up and the masonry that's in the contracts that you have to sign in order to get that $2 million to rebuild your house or get that $100,000 to rebuild your house, you're not getting it for free. Your child will not have a home. If you're going to rebuild your house, you better put a mother-in-law quarter in the back because that's your child's home too. You just brought it into a different timeline early. So you better hand down that house to your child and do not get pissed off when that child can't leave when they're 30 years old because you already took their house. It's what they don't want you to know. If you've been on the same auto insurance for a long time and all of a sudden your car gets taken over and you don't know what happened. You didn't do nothing wrong. How the hell did you hit that person? Well, it's time to pay up. They needed that person taken out. Your car is under contract with the insurance agent in a human bubble that's being controlled by energy rays. And if they need you to go have a wreck, or if it happened on another timeline, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. You're just gonna. And if you're one of us and you're coiled in it, and you flip a lot of cars, or you know anybody or a family that seems like they always have somebody in their family that ain't just getting in a little wreck. They're like flipping cars. Their energy is caught up in a DNA line, and whenever they pull it, they'll flip the car. Neptune was at 27 degrees, which is exactly where it is right now. Neptune was retrograde, which it's really easy to pull. No, well, actually, Neptune retrograde calls bullshit. Neptune was going backwards. And then Pluto was at 2844. This is on Lyra 3. This is where the 369, this is all Tesla. This is how the AI machine was running. And I'll just remind you, it's been running throughout what you'd consider human history. Now, all these planets, see how they're all at the bottom. They're at the bottom of the wheel. Okay, watch this. First of all, if you don't know how to change, let me go back to my, if you don't know how to change dates and pull these up, I'm going to show you. You go here to My Astro. You click on Stored Astro Data. These are your, this is where your people are going to be, or yourself. Click on You. You always click on Extended, this colored wheel chart right here. Then right here where it says date, you can just go in here and change the date. So this is, we want to do January 7th. Yeah, 2025. This is the LA fires. You want to make this equal because we're doing astronomy, not astrology. This is your telescope of the wheel, not sidereal, the wheel. Then it's going to pull up your chart, and you need to come over here and do with transits. They're really trying to push this stuff right now. With transits. These ones on the outside are where all your planets are. Are there any planets over here? What do we got down here at the bottom? We got Uranus on Pleiades. We got Jupiter coming out of Ra. And we got Mars on the hinge between their soul and their body. Because your soul is going to come back in right here. Mars is going retrograde right now. It just hit, okay? Because when Mars literally hit Cancer. Where did I say all the DNA lines of the Judah, of the people, of the real spiritual energy that has always been down here in the United States that the rest of the world was using as a money laundering machine to clean their dimensions in a much smaller playground than any of you can even possibly imagine. The airline industry, I'm putting you on notice. I command the airline industry create and put out information on the internet to show exactly in miles, in a simulation, how far it is to get to other countries from the United States of America. And I command that they start flying those routes and make all of them cheaper. And I'll give a warning to the federal government right now. None of your planes and none of your airlines are owned by the correct people. And you will not require federal government ID in order to get on a commercial flight in the United States of America. Or you will be grounded. We'll just ground the entire fleet until this is taken care of. So my airline industries, you're on notice. Because we know exactly how you've been doing it. Okay. Sun's in Vega. 22 star race DNA. So if we go from August 8th, where everything is changing timelines and it's trying to lock in to an old royal set on a Venus retrograde, that energy beam was normally what fries the entire human race. It's normally how we would just wake up and everything would be different, but we wouldn't even know. the only reason that it did what it did, and I mean, we'll see about the missing children. I mean, it's like I know where they are. They're in a pocket dimension. But, you know, we're just going to have to see how it all works out. If they're never found, then they were stolen from the future and they weren't supposed to be here to begin with, and they needed to go back out to come back in. But none of them were tortured in any way. I do know that. Now, at the same time, I've been responsible for getting and setting up timelines with buses in order to get them bussed back into the realm. So again, we never know exactly. I mean, we have no idea how much time and what all needed to be corrected so that everybody moves forward from this point correctly. And okay. But the sun at 16 degrees in Vega, which is in the 22 star race, I mean, when the sun hit Vega, it was a new charge. But what I'm showing everybody is that what hit Hawaii and then what hit LA is the same energy ray that hit two different dimensions of the human race bubble. This one was, they tried at first, the August 8th one was tapping into the current group of humans down here. So they couldn't tap into the Aborigine. This, they couldn't tap in to the alien. It didn't even tap into the industry. It hit the industry because they're the ones who were doing all the cooking. And they were living on Palisades, which is an angel. And the angel in Palisades is attached to Epstein Island, St. James, all of that. Bohemian Grove, all of it. Because they were using and killing everybody in order to set up fake dimensions over LA. It also has to do with Disney and all the souls of the children. I mean, they literally, according to certain groups of these beings, if you took your child to Disneyland, then you sacrificed them. Literally. Per whatever contract. Now, Disneyland and Walt Disney's last words were two-way down seller, CIA Mobley. And I broke that cipher and that code back in like 2018 to Kurt Russell, two-way down seller, CIA Mobley. And what that meant was underneath Anaheim, there was basically a shaft, two shafts. And so there were two shafts going up and there were two shafts going down. And so basically they were using Disney theme parks as processing units. Literally. Now, the program was originally set up in the beginning and after death timelines in order to make presidents and celebrities. And in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, and the simulation seemed to be working, right? But this is where I've been screaming over here. This wasn't human, what took over this system. The humans made the system. Then the humans lost consciousness and the system was stolen. And the beings that took over the system have no human consciousness. You're just an energy source to them. Are you worried about putting a whole bunch of batteries in the refrigerator to keep them charged? When you pick up your batteries and you put them in a drawer and they're all 8 in a pack, do you go, oh my God, the batteries have feelings? Oh, there's 8 batteries and they're all sealed up in a package. And then I seal them up in a drawer, or I seal them up and I put them in the refrigerator. Are you worried about the batteries? No. Well, this is what level of evil we're talking about. Human DNA codes weren't even male and female anymore. 232, 323, 555. As far as the matrix is considered, every single time one of us, or I got physically one of y'all out of the matrix, an Amber Alert goes out. Every single time. And 70% of the time, the codes and the race, and sometimes down to what they're wearing and the car, will match up completely to who I just pulled out of the simulation. Because whenever that energy leaves, the AI dragon mom goes, oh my God, I just lost 323, 555, 999, and I need it now. And then that Amber Alert goes out, it goes across the frequency, and we're still not sure what event happens first. Does the child go missing, or does the Amber Alert go out first? Who paid ahead for 18, 19, and 20 in that 4 seconds? That's that energy right there. This was on the fire. So they were coming to collect all the souls and all the energy that the industry had promised this demon. And they couldn't connect. California, everybody almost lost their soul. You're worried about your house? California, you better stop looking at just yourself. This is your warning. You need to look out across the world and see what these contracts were doing, how your power was formed, how you got on the television to begin with, how you emotionally manipulate people in order to back your covens and your covenants. California being separated from the whole world this program running way too long is what created the separation. Mockingjay here, hello, we no, you ain't living in the White Castle. Give us back our land. If you don't, it's all going in the ground, because we'll pop it up somewhere else where we can make sure we're standing on it when it comes out the water. It's your decision. And looky, Venus is on the cosmic eye. We had Venus retrograde. It was on Regulus on August 8th. It was at 5 degrees Pisces. January 7th, it's Venus, and Venus creates the energy and puts out the codes for the collective. Mars makes it real. Venus puts out the sequence. So 17 months later, Saturn on August 8th, 2023, when the Hawaii fires hit, Saturn was on the cosmic eye. So Saturn has all the karma and dharma backups, and evidently Hawaii, you were it. So whatever was going down with the elders, whatever the elders were keeping from everybody, how the elders went and signed up with, and this is Indian tribes, because what the Hawaiian elders didn't realize is that the Hawaiian elders, you set stage for every single Indian tribe elder in the United States. Y'all all sold your land. You sold out your dead. You bound yourself to dead women in death in order to get power. And then when all of it started coming undone, all of y'all backed the man. Every single one of you backed the man. None of you stood with the feminine. Hawaii, you cried and you screamed and you did all types of rituals in order to get us back in the realm to help you. And then whenever we did, you completely discounted us. You didn't listen to us. You only listened to if they had a dick, even though you called back in the feminine to save your ass. You called somebody in to do a job. We did it. Venus is at 4 degrees on top of the eye. So basically, when the LA fire hit, it's the same sequence. California, all you had to do, even after you spinal tapped me, even after we proved Saint Sarah, even after you knew all of this was going sideways, and none of y'all had the balls to show up and say, a girl beat me. And it is what it is. If I was a boy, this would have been over a long time ago. If I was a black woman, it would have been over quicker than it is now. If I would have had any melanin in my skin, this would already be done. But I'm a white, blonde woman. And no fucking way were they gonna heal. Well, yes, they will. Yes, they will. We're going back to get the soul. The real souls. And everybody's soul. There's only one soul down. You're connected all to one soul. If the soul of the planet and the soul of the human race is in an alternate dimension because of altars, then everybody's soul is. You're soulless. And the soul of the planet is what was stolen. And nobody even knew because everyone forgot that your planet was even alive and that all of us worked together to even make a realm, to produce trees, to produce ground, to produce children. It's about all of us. All of us work together down here in this bubble to make all of it possible. This is a big one. Now, the other smoking gun is Neptune, because we've got Neptune at 27 degrees on both counts, and there's a reason it was called Epstein, and and Neptune is what? The oversoul of Venus. Venus is what? The oversoul of Earth. They took Pluto out. Neptune's your furthest out. Neptune's your subconscious. They tuned the entire world's subconscious to a low demon entity and used it and pushed it through the internet. You know how they were able to do that? Remember how I started out with this video? You got a Meghan Markle, around a Harry. You got a Kate Middleton, around a Charlie. You, every single, George Clooney, Brad Pitt, any celebrity that's like a real deal, like, because not all the celebrities did this. Any celebrity that was like the real deal, even if you were involved in doing it, then you're even worse because you did it to yourself. So I lost my train of thought. Exactly. It's your subconscious is tied to long missions of time, because your subconscious is how you spot things in different dimensions, because it's laid like a druid, and everybody has this in their DNA lines. It's laid like a druid sigil in your energy fields, like if I have a bubble and I put a sigil on the outside of the bubble, and then when you're coming through your ascension, then those sigils, everybody that has those sigil is going to magnify like a key to your bubble. And FYI, that's curses too. Like, it's how it works. It's and it's what branding is, and tattooing even is. But whenever you align those, okay, then you see it, because you're seeing it from your subconscious, because when those align and a dominant chosen is chosen energetically to continue walking the journey, because it won't be everybody. This is where it gets into a smaller and smaller tree as you go up. Everybody can get through, but it's pretty hard. The ones that have the most ancient sigils, it's like you're using those like walking through a forest and recognizing a tree that you saw 1,000 years ago, but you're seeing it through your ancestors' eyes. Well, if you take out Pluto from that scenario, in 2020, when Pluto and Saturn lined up, and they had taken Pluto out of the whole thing completely, Saturn is what projects the next 7 years, the next 15 years. It goes on a Saturn count, and Saturn projects your timelines in the reality. That's why it's based on karma and dharma. Problem was, Saturn hadn't been boarded for 1,800 years. Nobody was going into Saturn. This is why bad people kept getting away with doing bad crap. Saturn wasn't balanced and boarded appropriately for the last 1,800 years. It was more so whoever was sacrificed went up into Saturn. So all those timelines and all those armies from below and above, right, left, all these star system, what you'd consider aliens, demons, whatever. The only reason that they had bodies to even show up in this realm is because we were clearing organic DNA and putting back together all the DNA sequences on Earth. So whenever you see aliens and they're saying they show up and they said God's here, they're not kidding. They got pulled here from outer space because it's where parts of your human DNA were bound in outer space, and they're literally being made as on their way back in. Completed. See, this is erasing all entities. There really isn't. Everybody went into a bag of soup. There is no alien. There is no demon. There is no vampire. There is no witch. It's all in you because it's where it came from. The human race created all of this by trying to separate it. If the human race wouldn't have been saying black people shouldn't come in here, only white people. Women can't do this, only men can. Men can't do this, only women can. White people, yellow people, green people, whatever. I mean, if the human race wouldn't have been acting like this, galactics wouldn't have been able to come in and take over. Human race acts exactly the way they want you to, so that they can do it. This is what evolution is. If you aren't evolved enough to see this, and if you get caught up in this, then they're going to have you with a gun in your hand shooting at some people real soon. And I'm not manifesting it. I'm just seeing the timelines. We're on the verge of a revolution and a civil war. And it's not even civil. I mean, the Hispanics are already gathering. And then Pluto was where? 1 degree Aquarius. 1 degree Aquarius. That's a screen. That's a plasma screen. You can call it your television. You can call it your telegram. It's all the technology that's inside screens. Even the new Apple iPhone. Apple, you're done. Android, you're done. Anybody who's currently making cell phones, you're done. Where's Peaches at? We have proof that even the devices that they've been making the last 10 years down here, that we're pulling in pure information, we're distorting it in the glass, we're distorting it in the processor, and everything was getting hijacked in and out of any type of server that had ever been down here because it was all on a repeat timeline. It's really hard to believe we've been here before. But we have. Only difference is when it happened last time, California and Hawaii didn't get lit on fire because of it. This earth is going to terraform. This simulation is broken. And you can basically think of it as it's got a spirit leak. It's got a spirit leak. There's no spirit in the simulation anymore. Divine Feminine's been cut from the collective. I think, what is it? Tomorrow is the last day. Today's a 111 portal. We're on plan. All that energy is having to be transmuted, and we had a shift last night, definitely. And guess who's getting the messages? Finally, our men. So to all of our men, and I've been over here as all of you have been attacking me. And I've been telling, I don't care what industry you're in, I don't care what you've been doing, we've been attempting to tell you to correct your future because it's being corrected for you, whether or not you're involved or not. And all us feminines have been cleaning the masculine since 2018. Everything that I've talked about and every bit of this that's been going on down here was to control the men so that the men would control the women. This is why this was a hidden plan. This has been a hidden plan for over 1 million years. And to all the Egyptians that kept this at play because you want to say that the Egyptian queen and Cleopatra has lost her crap. No, we just alchemied you. And we knew since Egypt that you men were going to get taken over first. And we knew since Egypt that you men were going to be trying to kill every single one of us. So we utilized that and we let you. We let you kill us so you could see us come back to life. Because you men seem to not see anything unless it happens right in front of you. So it's being provided for. So all you men that kept killing us over and over again and that made this a mafia Hell's Angels program that made beings that could die like Daredevil, but then you put it and you give it to Ryan Riddles on a Blake Lively and have him set up a Mint Mobile connection when telecom is supposed to come down completely. We ain't dying for nobody anymore, but the rebirth process in the human race is active. We knew they were going to do every bit of this. Everything that I did in California, including being cut off from my child, and everything that happened to me there was preparing for what happened on January 7th. Because normally this ray would come in and boom, lights out. We're all in the Hunger Games. And Heidi and Spencer are your royal family. That's all this video is going to be about. I know it was a lot. This is millions of years of information. You cannot explain. You cannot even understand it all at once. But it is why the game was being played. This knowledge. And it's why there were sacrifices to begin with. So that's where we're at. Let me look right now real quick before I hang up, because when I looked, it's 2:17. When I looked a minute ago, we're waiting for the true node to go into Pisces, which I'll remind everybody puts the south node in Virgo, which is where the Sophia Christ energy was all manipulated. And for all the beings that attempted to manipulate the Sophia Christ template, I need everyone to understand that that template goes all the way out into Alpha Draconic now. If you flew your ship in and you tried to do any manipulation into a Sophia Christ, Mary Magdalene template, you got caught in it like flypaper, and you have to uncoil yourself from it. And you aren't going to get any help from any American or any original people that are going to give you any energy in order to get it back until you come clean to the collective. So Spencer and Heidi, you can sit over there on TikTok as long as you want. You can take your $15,000 in your account and you can build it up all you want, but there's a Drano on it until you come out and do what's right for the other people. Y'all aren't worried about the North Carolinas that are all dying and that are buried underneath the mountain. No one's even talking about them anymore. Everybody's only concerned about what's going on in LA. But hello, that mountain had to move because of what you did in LA. So Los Angeles, you better support Appalachians. Gavin Newsom and that whole thing was set up with Nigeria. Nigeria was responsible for the entire program running on social media by the government in 2020, 2018, and 2019 when they were trying to find which one of us held all the connections by all of us having to get out connections in the internet and social systems so that they could figure out which ones of us actually held the power down here so they could write sacrifices on it. This is why Meghan Markle was named Princess of Nigeria. And Henry Cavill and Colin Cavill, that's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I'm going to say about that. So right now, we're waiting to see who's actually real. And for anybody who's in some type of twin union or any type of trinity or anything like that, this is why everything's in flux right now. All of the units are having to be sucked. Everyone's energy is getting sucked out, and it's going into a template. I don't care where you are, whatever template is activated in order to hold that consciousness. And you know, it's to the extent, even in my weird world, that if you've been following me and how they MK Ultra'd all this bullshit with Jason Momoa and Henry Cavill, to give you an even an ink and how we used it. You know, when they came at me with Henry Cavill, that's how we broke the monarch lines, because they had made him with all the monarch lines. In India was trying to make Henry Cavill like your galactic king. We were always kind of built, one was from the past and one was from the future, and it's confusing which one's actually from the past and from the future because they're opposite. And us as a divine feminine, we're always taking a piece of them from the past and the future in order to make a new consciousness, a new masculine with all of the feminine consciousness that he wasn't getting, that Jimmy Carter was getting. And Beyonce Carter and this whole ritual that they just did, well, all of us are getting the downloads from all their plans right now. The whole ritual was to try to keep that Jimmy Carter consciousness and all the moves that were made with Iran and all, because it's like a book. And whenever someone dies, then that book goes to the next the reason that they pulled him off the shelf in order to do that burial ritual right now is because they were attempting to keep the consciousness of all the moves that they made inside their DNA lines, and it's hitting the collective. And so if you're getting a lot of new information, this is what it is. Our masculines, you're going to be getting a whole lot of information. You're going to be really sad because you're going to finally see what you ignored from all your women. But at least you're seeing it finally. I'll be back soon. Can't wait to take a shower. I haven't been able to because we're cleaning this mess up. I think I can tomorrow.